Hey Wolfpack, how's it going? Angela Wolf here, and we are behind the scenes officially. The jacket's almost finished, but I still have some hemming. I have to decide about the belt, so I'll have to go with your vote on this one because I can't make up my mind. So welcome to the party. If you've never been here before, say hi, say where you're from. This is the final episode. I'd call it an episode because it's been like 2 months. Finishing my Chloe trench. And I did it out of a ponte knit. It's going to make a great, great summer jacket. So I see you all rolling in. Say hi. Make sure there's no technical issues. You know how that goes. Oh, goodness, Liz, that's hot. That's really hot. Hey, speaking of hotness, I have a surprise for you. A couple things. One, before I get started. For those of you that are stuck at home this weekend, not stuck at home, but it's too hot to go out or you don't have any plans, I have scheduled, now I think they've all uploaded, I have to double check, but I have scheduled all of my last season of It's So Easy episodes to binge watch on YouTube. So you can start on Saturday morning. So I'll send you a note about it for what time it's going to start, but I have every single episode in a row and it'll just go from one to the other. There'll be a little break and then I'll give you all the details. I'll send an email out probably tomorrow with all the details because there's more. Then there's more. If you haven't seen in the Angela Wolf Patterns group, I have a few events coming up. Some are not free, some are free, but you might want to check those out. So this is where you go for that. Before I get sewing here, just go to angelawolf.com and let me just show you. I just uploaded the whole page. So here you go. There we go. Okay, it's this one. I guess I have too many screens open. You're going to see everything I've been working on for the last 3 hours, right? Actually, I've been sewing. So if you go to angelawolf.com right here, okay, you do not have to be a member of the Fashion Sewing Club for this, but if you want to join the Fashion Sewing Club, that's right here. But go to classes and events, and on here, on this super big picture, which I definitely need to downsize, scroll down here. Here's the entire schedule for July, in case you're wondering, and 2 new classes. Which hem should you choose? Learn how to hem your pants. That's going to be a really fun one because as I was hemming this jacket here, I was thinking, should I do a cover stitch or should I do a top stitch? Should I do a double rolled? So whatever hem you choose for your garment, regardless if you're altering ready to wear or you're sewing from scratch, it can really make a difference on what your jacket looks like. And I know a lot of you are newbies and beginners. This would be a great class for you. All right, there you go. There's that one. And also there's a discount in the Angela Wolf Patterns group. Don't forget. And Fashion Sewing Club, you have your own discount. And then there's a second class here, which is coming up the end of July. And this is, I will be posting a sketch of this hem. It's a curved hem. And it could be used in the front of your pant leg, on the side. It could be used in a skirt. It could be used pretty much on any like skirt, pants, capris, even shorts. The nice curve edge, I'll show you how to do that. That's in the next class. And then we have a couple free classes coming up, and those are all in here as well. If you scroll down on this left-hand side here, anything that's pink, I made it easy for the Fashion Sewing Club to remember when their sessions are. And also, here's the free one, She Shed. And then there's also a class coming up on pattern review with Deepika. And we're going to be teaching, well, I'm going to be teaching how to design and sew an exposed zipper pocket. So lots going on in July, but in the meantime, I want to finish my jacket. So let me see, I can see you all. Oh, thanks, Arnell. I know I need my glasses when I thought it said you were cooking. Okay, but now that we're on, okay, so we're on the Angela Wolf page. I am streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. But I have a funny one for you. So you all know that I'm just an animal freak. And for some reason, I love feeding the squirrels. But this weekend, I had a few extra little pets, I would say. So Monday, I decided to work from up north, and I'm sitting there watching a squirrel jumped from our roof over to the bird feeder, and he's hanging upside down, gorging. I think he actually hiccuped. I'm not even kidding you. Wynn was laughing so hard because I couldn't stop watching him, right? But then it gets better. Then all of a sudden, a deer comes around the corner, actually multiple deer, and they came around. I guess they wanted the bird seed. I don't know. Okay, there's more. And then all of a sudden, the coolest looking bird I've ever seen, and I'm going to bring my good camera next weekend so I can get a really good photo. I couldn't quite zoom in enough from inside, but the coolest looking bird landed on the hot tub cover along with 2 babies, and the babies were trying to fly. It's the cutest thing ever, and they were just not having they weren't doing very well. But the mama bird kept going to get seed to feed the babies. It was so precious. But then last but not least, we have Bobby. Yes, we named him Bobby. At first, I wasn't sure if it was a girl cat or a boy cat, but it is definitely a baby bobcat. So this bobcat has adopted us. I think he's living under our deck. So he comes out every morning and every night. So I put a little bit of water out for him. He's already eating in the wild, and he's sitting right in between all of that activity. So I'm hoping the baby bird survived. I'm hoping the squirrel survived. Oh, there was a chipmunk I forgot about. And all the birds that come to eat. So that cat has kind of a buffet to choose from. So I'm not so sure about that. But yes, we had to do, I was thinking maybe it was a cat that just lost his tail. No, we looked it up. It's definitely a bobcat. It's a very small one. So that was my weekend. Oh, goodness gracious. So I know, that's what I said, Marcia. Well, it took you by surprise because he was hanging out with the raccoons, by the way. So this place is kind of in the middle of nowhere, if you haven't noticed. All we need now is the bear to come back, and then I'll have the whole, isn't there a movie about that? I Bought a Zoo? Yeah, that's pretty much how we feel right now. All right, so are you ready to sew? That was your update of my life for the whole week. Nothing exciting, right? Or nothing too exciting. Yes, and we named him Bobby because we weren't sure if it was a boy cat or a girl cat, but it is confirmed it's a boy cat. Definitely. I know. Okay, so now let's go sew. I've got my jacket behind me. Here you go. Make sure you can see this okay. So if you missed yesterday's episode, I was live on Brother Sews, and yes, I'm wearing the Bella. This is going to be one of the episodes that you can watch next week, and this is going to be our next sew along, by the way. The Bella in a summer version. Okay, so the jacket, we have the facing attached. I attached the sleeves, but I'm going to show you how to finish the inside edge. I've already finished sewing part of the hem, which I'll take you to the table to watch. We have our tabs on. So pretty much what I have left is to top stitch, because I didn't do that yet. I need to add a sleeve head. Now, for those of you that have no idea what a sleeve head is, and this is an unlined jacket, so I don't want to add too much in there because you want it to look as beautiful on the inside as it does on the outside. But you do need a little sleeve head because this is a set-in sleeve. And you can see on this dress form, and I'm trying to make it look bad, just really bad. See how that there's nothing there for the sleeve edge. You want this to be nice and full. See how it rounds? And you have this extra fabric area in here from your set-in sleeve. And if you just leave it with nothing, then sometimes it just looks a little wrinkly. You can see the seam below, and I don't like that. So we're going to add a sleeve head. I still need to finish the belt. And then my last thing that I need to do is try on the jacket and figure out where I want my belt loops. And I do this last because, well, also we have to hem it, but I do it last because my waist might be higher or lower than yours. And if you're going to, this is a wrap jacket, right? So you want it to wrap and tie probably in your waist area, unless you want it lower, but I like it in the waist. So that will be my last step. So let's go to the table. I'll show you what we have left, and I'll just start sewing. And when the hour is up, we're finished. And hopefully I have the jacket finished because I really want to wear it. And I can see your comments and questions as we roll along. So if I miss one while I'm sewing, just be sure to ask again at the end. Okay? All right, let's go to the table. Let me just take this down so you can see. There you go. Better. All right, to the table. All right, what I have here is the belt. And if you look closely, I've actually cut the lining for the belt a little wider. Why do I do that? Well, I sew the belt a little differently. I'm not going to add interfacing to this belt because it's a knit. I do want this bottom edge to show a little bit, but I want to decorate this fabric. Remember what we did on this one here? Now this, you can see the cover stitch through the bottom, which that's fine, but I don't want that for the belt. I want the belt to look really nice on the back side. This will be covered up. You'll hardly see it. It's just kind of a little decoration. But for this one, I can't decide if I should just run a nice stitch or just keep the top stitching. It's totally your choice. But if I decide to add this now, I might do it before I sew the belt. All right? That way, from the back side, you won't see that stitch at all. Now, I also need to decide, and this is the part that you all can vote on this all day today because I will make up my mind later. I really wanted gold or brass for this. All I have are silver loops. I also found these, which I will be putting these on the website, and I do have a discount code for you all for July 4th weekend. But let me just see here. I would have to put little rivets in here. Or not rivets, you know what I mean, grommets. Oh, it goes this way. What do you think of this color? I actually thought this might be better more with like a black jacket or something, but it's not bad with the green. And then I would have this for the belt, and I have two little ones for the arms. I just don't know if I like that color with the green. So that, or would you go silver and green? Or do I need to go to the store and buy some brass? Because I cannot find any of my brass. Kind of like a brassy gold. I like gold and green. All right, so that's one thing. And now let's take a look inside of the sleeve. This is what we have left. I've sewn my sleeve in here. Both of them. And if you look closely, see how my sleeve sticks out just a little bit further than my seam? Just a little trick for you. This knit, you can't really ease that seam in. So what I did is I just slid out my sleeve cap just a little bit, and that sewed in beautifully. I see one crooked stitch there that I want to fix. So the last thing we need to do for the sleeves then is trim this off. I'm going to trim my seam allowance just down to about a ½ an inch, which is what it is, a ½ of an inch, but just in case anything was cut crooked. And I also want to trim off the excess of my sleeve cap that's sticking out because I remember I just told you what I did with that. Now I could just run this seam through the serger if I wanted, but everything on the inside of my jacket has bias or is wrapped with that beautiful fabric. So I think I'd like to do that for the sleeves too. And I'll show you how that works. All right, now the sleeve head is going to go in the sleeve cap area, and that's the last thing you do after I finish this edge here. All right, let's cut the other sleeve. How do you know how much to move that sleeve cap out? I mean, you're just doing it a hair. I think as you can see here, it's about a ½ of an inch maybe at the most. And it's just at the sleeve cap area, not down at the bottom of the sleeve. And that only really comes into play when I'm working on knits or something that can't, like if I can't ease that fabric. Now, if I was using a wool fabric or a tweed, I wouldn't need to do that. All right, so my armhole's all cleaned up. Let's get all the scraps out of there. I'm going to need to give this a good pressing to make sure nothing's wrinkled. I'll show you how to do that. And then going down to the hem. Here's the hem edge. We've already pressed all this up. I showed you how to do the facing yesterday. So now I need to run a piece of fabric. Well, if I were going to use a cover stitch on this, I could go ahead and just run the cover stitch, but I'm not. I'm going to do either a real light hand stitch, or I could do the triple stitch like we've done on everything else. That looks really nice. I just don't want it to stand out, and I don't want the fabric to stretch. I don't have interfacing in here, which if I put interfacing, that would prevent the stretching, but I also don't want it to stick out. I want it to drape. Let me show you the sleeves for the sleeve hem. So you can see here, this is exactly like the bottom hem will be. It's not a double fold bias, it's a single. And for my sleeve, when I turn it up to hem, it looks like this. So I have the option where I could just tack each of these seams and then hand stitch this in place, or run it through the cover stitch, or again, use the double stitch. It's whatever your choice is. So let's go work on the hem, and then we'll go to the belt. I'll meet you at the ironing board. I agree, Kelly. Go to the store and get what I like. Then I won't redo it. I don't know. I'm just, this green, although it would look really rich with silver, and I wear a lot of silver and platinum, for some reason, I just think gold has a better blend with this, but that's just my opinion. So for all of you that are sewing the Chloe Trench, next week is show and tell, and I'll be featuring all of your beautiful work next week on the show, so everyone can see what everybody else's Chloe Trench looks like. Okay, so I'm going to need a piece of bias tape this long, and I don't think that this one is long enough. Oh, just barely. Wowzer. Let me see if this one's longer. Don't you hate that? I was going to actually have to go attach this, but oh, score. This one's longer. It's perfect, just enough. So what we're going to do is go to the sewing machine, and with right sides together, we're not using double bias on this, even though I love making that bias tape. You're going to lay your hem out. And again, if you missed yesterday's episode, you'll see how to do this facing like this. And with right sides together, just stitch with about, oh gosh, maybe about 1/4 inch all the way down. And then we're going to press it up and around. So I'll meet you at the sewing machine. Now I've been sewing like crazy for the last few hours. So hopefully I don't have to redo my bobbin. I didn't even look for that. But of course, since we're live, I probably will run out of bobbin thread. Just heads up. All right, I'm just using a straight stitch. Be very careful not to stretch your fabric here, okay? Because especially if you're using a knit, a ponte knit or something. Don't stretch your bias either. Just keep them both just even. even, Steven. I have a straight stitch going 2.5 miles an hour. Oh, I mean 2.5. Oh, can you tell I'm ready for vacation? No, I'm not going 2.5 miles an hour. My stitch length is 2.5. Oh, goodness. All right, I'm just about 1/4 inch from the edge. And this right here, can you see this? It looks like I cut it a little crooked, that needs to be straight, because if your hem is not cut straight, when you go to wrap this around, it's going to look terrible. So let me just even that out a little bit. I didn't even notice that, or I would have done that first. Make sure that your seams, if they're pressed to the side, your front seam is pressed towards the back, so make sure your seam allowance is facing towards the back. Look at that, just enough. I really thought I was going to have to combine those two pieces. It's my lucky day. So here's the sleeve, if you look closely. I pressed this, I turned it around the raw edge, pressed it towards the wrong side, and then went back and top stitched right along the edge. So it's not a double bias, it's just a single fold. That way when I go to hem this, I don't have all that, I have a little bit of bulk, but not a ton. Does that make sense? So I'll go to the iron, I'm gonna press this down, press it away from the seam, and then press it around your raw edge. And look at how nice that looks. So regardless if I decide to do a cover stitch, top stitch, hand stitch, it doesn't matter. The inside of my jacket's gonna look awesome. Now while I'm here, you know me, let's get a bunch done while we're here. I know that's not proper English, but I think you got the idea. So here's my sleeve. I saw one part that just looked a little crooked. Let me straighten that out. I don't need to rip anything out. It was just, it must have gone over the shoulder seam. And we need to finish this edge here. Since I have this whole piece, now I don't even have to cut a new piece. Great. Look at the back of your sleeve, by the way, and make sure that you don't have any wrinkles or maybe fabric got crossed. Sewing in your sleeve can be a little tricky, but just do it slowly, you'll be fine. So now I'm going to stitch this. You have an option. You can stitch it to the outside and fold it to the inside, or stitch it to the inside and fold it the right side. Now the only thing I noticed, this might be just a little bit, because this is only 1.5 inches. Usually for sleeves, I like to make it just a little bit bigger. Yeah, I'm going to leave that for now, because you want something maybe about 2 inches. You want to make sure you cover that really well. And I'm just afraid that if I stitch this on, by the time I flip it over that thick seam, there's going to be hardly anything to fold over, because you're really using a double bias on this edge. So we're going to leave that. Let's go to the iron and press up that hem area. And hopefully I have enough fabric for 2 inches wide, or I'm going to have to come up with something creative. You know me, another design element. Hi, Yvette. Great to see you. I see Trisha in here. Okay. I don't think Sharon will be on today, because I think I saw her awesome pictures where she is traveling out west. I saw her pictures of Mount Rushmore. I have not seen that since I was a kid. My parents took me there when I was really young. Well, probably like 12 or something. I still remember it though. It was pretty cool. It looks a little bit more built up than when I went, though, I have to say. Now, as I'm pressing this, you notice that my original hem is going away. I can still barely see it, so I'm not worried, but there's my original hemline. So now you're going to take this fabric, fold it over your raw edge, give it a little steam. There's the clapper. Yes, clappers will be on sale this weekend too. The sale starts today and it lasts until Tuesday. And the coupon code is July 4th, all capital letters. So July, the number 4, TH. It will also cover the Bella pattern, which we're sewing next. It will cover actually anything in the whole store. Just know it's not going to ship probably. Well, I'm shipping tomorrow, but then nothing will ship until Tuesday. So now we have just this raw edge here. Look at how nice this looks. So we need to go back and either stitch just along the cotton edge or stitch in the ditch. Go back to the sewing machine. Josie, you're in the Fashion Sewing Club anyways. You get a special discount, you silly. Okay, I'm going to stitch in the ditch. If you don't know what that is, oops, this fabric is slippery. Stitching in the ditch is right on the edge of this fabric. So I'm stitching actually on the knit fabric right next to the cotton fabric. There's no need to back stitch there because that's going to be in the back of a seam. Now there are special feet that you can use for this, which will line up right in that area here. I always just tend to use this foot when I'm just sewing. But there are feet that make this a lot easier, by the way. As you can see, I just stitched on the cotton there. You can't see it. So for you, those of you that have made the Chloe trench, some of you made one last year too when I was making the cashmere one. I would love for you to leave a comment and let me know what fabric you used. Because then I go back and read these that night and I might come up with another idea for another Chloe trench. And yes, by the way, I just saw a question. If I'm featuring everyone that made the Chloe trench, it doesn't have to be just this time. So I know many of you made one last year. Just post those photos again in the Angela Patterns group or on Instagram. And be sure to tag me. And I will share, if you want to be shared next week during the live show, I will bring those up. So pull your photos out of the bin. There. That looks really nice. And then the back side, I don't mind having this little extra fabric. So now when I press up my hem, the inside will look beautiful. And then I can either do a blind stitch with the machine, hand stitch, or do a top stitch. I'm not going to do that till after I top stitch the whole jacket just to see how it lays. Let's go back to the ironing board. Okay, getting my exercise today. You'd think I'd move my tables closer together, right? Oh, that wouldn't be any fun. It gives you guys a chance to chat. Oh, thanks. It said I make bias tape look so easy. You know, I'm addicted to bias tape. I love bias. In fact, I love bias all the way. I love bias, making bias tops. It's just so beautiful. All right, so now I'm doing my hem. And this clapper will give it a really nice crease that no matter when I decide to go hem this, it will really look nice. Now I'm eyeballing this. Looks like that could be just a little bit. but I can feel my previous press line. That's what I'm actually using as a guide. Yes, that's the motor on the iron. I just saw somebody say, what is that? I always laugh because usually this time of day my stomach starts growling because I'm starving, and it's not my stomach, it's the iron. All right, this looks really nice. So now you can see the inside of my, and I'm not using a press cloth, by the way. We talked about this yesterday, but I have an iron shoe on here, and that's what that looks like. So it does not damage my fabric. If you don't have an iron shoe, you need to use a press cloth. So this is the front, and you can see how the facing covers up all that interfacing. So I can go back here and I can just hand stitch lightly right along my seam there and tack this into place, or just put a couple little tacks at the pocket. That will hold it as well. You just don't want the stitches to show to the right side. All right, let's go up here to the sleeve. Here's my facing. My sleeve is sewn. You need to press your seam for your sleeve. So wrap it around. This is my ham, the tailor's ham. I think these are back in stock. If they're not, they will be, because I just got a box in. So you put your sleeve on here. Give it some steam. Isn't that beautiful? No wrinkles. There's a thread though. Let's cut that. All right, let's press the other sleeve. Now's the time to notice. If for any reason you have wrinkles, or maybe your sleeve didn't sew in correctly, try on your jacket. Make sure your sleeve isn't pulling, to the back or the front. This is my basting stitch right here that I see. Remember when we basted this to give it some steam? I'll rip that out later when I have my glasses on. The last thing I need to do is rip my fabric at the very end, right? A few little threads. And the shoulder looks great too. All right, back in here. So with our sleeve, I'm going to finish this edge just like my blue jacket, and I'll show you the inside of my blue jacket. But what do you do with the facing here? Well, the inside facing is the same width. So if you did this exactly the way I did, remember when we finish this seam here, this is your shoulder and this is your facing. You just walk this over along the seam. And notice I pressed this seam towards the front. I put bias tape on this edge for the back, but I did not do it. I did it on the front, but I did not do it in the armhole. You didn't need it in the armhole because this is actually going to connect to your armhole. So walk this over, making sure it's exactly even. Of course, my pins are on the other side. Okay, I'm just going to put a little pin here. So when I go to finish that armhole, I want to make sure that this is in place. So I can either baste this in place to make sure that it's nice and secure. If you're going to add a shoulder pad, you could hide that inside here if you wanted to. And you can also go back and hand stitch if you want to. You can just like hand stitch this all the way down to your shoulder seam. It will stay in place though. So I'm actually not going to do that. What I'm going to do is pin it like this. I'm going to run a basting stitch along here to hold it in place. And then if I have any issues with this flapping up at all, I can always go back and just hand stitch that right to the seam. And I probably will do that. I like to have things look, I don't know, I like the inside to look better than the outside actually. And then let's go to the other one. So there's my shoulder. I just saw somebody ask, Can you watch these episodes again? Yeah, this is like, what is this? Do you guys remember? Is this like number 9 for the Chloe Trench? I took a long time on this one. So yes, you can go back on YouTube, Twitch, actually any of them, Twitter, Facebook, and binge watch these. And also in the video, a lot of times I'm telling you news for the week and stuff like that. You can just skip ahead to the parts that you want to see, the parts that you missed. All right, I'm going to take out that basting stitch. And I'm just going to leave this one alone because when I put my glasses on, I'll take out that extra basting. I don't want any wrinkles through here. So again, just baste that in place and you're good to go. So your inside will be finished. All right, so let's take a look at the belt. Sew the belt. All right, with right sides together. This is when I wish my little stickers, I would have put stickers on this. This fabric looks exactly the same on both sides, but this is actually the right side. It has a different sheen to it and it's a little flatter. So we're going to sew this center back seam and then we're going to go to the cover stitch machine. All right, let's go to the sewing machine. Okay. I'm going to stitch this. I'm just using the edge of my foot as a guide. I don't have the pattern in front of me to tell you exactly. Probably a 1/2 of an inch is what I guess, or 1/4 of an inch is what I would. But 1/2 an inch will be nice and sturdy. Okay. And now we need to do the same thing to the lining. So make sure that you have these facing the right way. So this is going to go with here. Again, the lining's a little wider. Remember I mentioned that? So let's go to the edge. Let's make sure that our tweed is matching up. Not that anybody's going to see the center back of your this is, these are just a little bit different. Oh, you know why? Because this was the last of the fabric that I had. I think I should have, they both look almost exactly the same. All right, so I'm going to cut this a little bit smaller. Can you see this okay on here? Just to show you what I'm looking at. So this side is a little bit longer than that side, but this is already wider. So I just want to make sure that I line this up correctly and then I'll recut this. So I probably should have cut this with this side going this way and it would have been fine, but I didn't. So here's a save. This is the beauty of live, right? What would you do? Would you just sew it anyways? Nope, because I want this to line up. That's the whole point here. All right, I'm going to press this and I'll meet you at the cover stitch. Well, actually, first let's go to the iron and press this, and then you'll see this a little better anyways. Okay. Oh, hey, Susan, great to see you. How is the house coming along, by the way? I just looked up and saw your comment on there. Susan, I don't know if you were here for the beginning, but we have a new cat, and it's not one that you'd want in the house. All right, so see what happened here? I should have cut this the other way, but I didn't. And this is wider than this anyways, so I'm fine. But I really wanted to match. See where I sewed here? I wanted that to match. And now I'll trim off each edge and I'll be fine. So let's make sure it'll be, yeah, I have plenty of room. So if I trim this side down and that side down, there's no problem. All right, so let's go to the cover stitch real quick. All right. I saw you. You have drywall up. That's good. And you're right. No bobbies inside. Okay. So my back is towards you, so I really hope you can see this. But I just want to give myself a guide. You know what? Hold on one second. Just keep yourself company for a minute. I'm just going to give myself a gentle press in the middle of this because there's going to be no way for me to line this up in the center without a little bit of a guide. I know. And I'm sorry that all of you on YouTube can't see everybody on Facebook's comments unless I bring them up on the board. All right, this will at least just tell me that I'm putting my stitch right down the center of the belt. So what I'm doing is and I know I'm not on that camera, guys. I'm just doing this quickly so I can go back to the cover stitch. I didn't think you needed to watch me press again. So all I did is gave myself a little guide. You see that little pressed crease? Just a little way to line up my foot. And if I line up my middle needle, or depending on what cover stitch or stitch machine you have, there's a little notch right here. And now once I have this centered, I can line this up on the side and have a guide there. Whatever's easiest for you. By the way, if you're doing a beautiful double cover stitch, make sure you're stitching on the right side of the fabric, okay? See what that looks like? That looks really nice. So I have woolly nylon thread in the upper looper, the lower looper, there's only one looper, and then for the top cover stitch. Now, if you have an embroidery machine, you could add some gorgeous embroidery. You could do some beautiful decorative stitches. If you're going to add embroidery or top stitches, though, then you have to add interfacing to this piece, or at least have stabilizer, right? Now, because this is the double cover stitch, I can actually chain off, but I always like to leave a piece of fabric under. Okay. Let's go back to the ironing board. Okay. So now you can see my decorative stitch. And because it's a double cover stitch, it actually looks beautiful on both sides. I could technically just use this as the belt without putting the other one underneath. Actually, this is the right side. They both look so good. How do you know? And see how that's nice and centered now? Beautiful. All right, and now I have this piece here. I just need to trim this. Let's go over here because I'm actually going to trim this with scissors and not the rotary cutter this time for a really specific reason. You can see how this plaid matches, and you can see how that's why I wanted this to match here. So if I want this to be even, I mean, I could use rotary cutter, but I'm just going to use scissors. It'll be easier for you to see. So I can see I need to hang out right along this, kind of this yellowish line here. It's like a yellowy green. That's, I think, why I want some gold with this jacket, because although platinum would look great, it's like a gold green. It has some yellow in it. So these are my serrated scissors, and it really just grabs that fabric. A little different than just a regular pair of scissors. Okay, so that side matches up, right? Now let's go to this side. I cannot believe our hour is almost up. My goodness, time flies when you're having fun. So I'm going to sew one side of the belt just so you can see. I've got just a little tip for you. It's really hard when you're having two layers like this. Number one, to make sure that the bottom layer doesn't pop out. And two, to get a nice point. Okay, to the sewing machine. Okay. Now, line up your center back seam with right sides together, all right? And I'm just going to line this up right in the center of my, and yes, the lining is wider. I do that, it's just easier for me to see, and you'll see what's going to happen here in just a minute. So you're just going to have to trust me. Now you need a big enough seam allowance that when you're moving things around that you're not pulling or tugging. So I'm going to I'm going to start on this side. I have made one of these belts where I had to do the whole thing over because I used like an eighth, I don't know, like maybe a little less than 1/4 of an inch, or barely 1/4 of an inch, I should say, seam allowance, and it just pulled out because the fabric frays. All right, so. No pins, I'm just lining this up down the center. Look what I did. Wah, wah. I guess I should have flipped it the other way. Dang. Seam ripper to the rescue. Hi, Stacy, Melody. Welcome, girls, to the party. I see everybody else rolling in too, so I apologize if I'm not saying your name. I just see theirs on the top. Say hi, because I can see your comments now while I'm ripping. You know what happens when you got a seam ripper in your hand. Yes, you know what? If I really didn't think I wanted a really nice long belt, I would have said, oh, forget it. I'll just cut the belt shorter. But you know what? It's all right. So I'm taking the bobbin thread and I'm just pulling that. The bobbin thread is always easier to rip out than the top one. I just don't want to damage my fabric, so. Okay, so let's flip that around. Try that again. Yeah, no pins, Mom, right? So this time, let's make sure that we have our, there we go, much better. LOL, I can definitely see that. Okay, like it never happened. Why do I know I'm going to be sewing this tomorrow on our Fashion Sewing Club? No, I'm going to have it done before our Fashion Sewing Club meetup tomorrow. That's my goal. All right, we're getting to the end part. And for this part here, I just trim this. I stitch all the way off. So there's one stitch mark. Now, for this part here, I just need to trim that. It's a little bit crooked. Now, one thing I mentioned, why is this wider? Well, now I'm just going to slide my fabric over just a little bit. Actually, no, I'm going to slide it this way. So my fabric, I have more fabric than lining. So can you see that little bubble there? I mean, I'm sliding it like, oh gosh, maybe 1/8 of an inch, just a little bit. So here, for the point, I'm going to just back stitch, stitch all the way to the other side. And there are many ways to sew a belt. This is just one way that I like to do it. It's just easy and fast. Well, fast if you don't sew the wrong thing, right? All right, so I'm just squeezing this over just a little bit. You can do it as you sew. But to get started, I'm only going to stitch up just a little bit. And I'll take you to the ironing board, because the first thing you need to do is turn that point before you stitch anymore. And you can see there's a little bubble here. That's because there's more of this fabric than the back side. One last thing. For your point right here, go right to the edge of that point, just down maybe 1 or 2 stitches, and stitch back and forth. So you're actually making a little cross across this point. It makes your point look much better. So I'll trim that. And let's go to the ironing board, because we're just about finished for the day. Unfortunately, hey Josie, I just saw you asking about Fashion Sewing Club. It's tomorrow. Girls, what time is it? Do you remember? I don't have it right here in front of me. But I will be adding all the Fashion Sewing Club members probably this evening. So you'll get a little reminder, and then you'll get a reminder tomorrow before it starts. And you always, you don't have to be present to watch it. You can always go back later. Okay, so I'm trimming this off a little bit. And let me grab my little pointer. The reason I don't sew down too far is because if for any reason you can't get your point to look nice on your belt, or you need to change it, like this is a really lightweight fabric, so I might need to change mine to a straight edge instead of a point. I don't know, because I'm not using any interfacing. Now on the other Chloe trenches that I have, I was able to do the point. So it really depends on your fabric, and I'm really just testing this. I want to make sure that it looks nice, that it doesn't look like it's an awkward point, that like it looks like it's supposed to be there. So that looks a little bit weird to me, like you have an extra finger or something. So I'm going to trim this off and make it more of a line like this. So I'm going to press this because that will give me a guide for how to sew this. And that's what mine will end up looking like, which is a little better than this little pointy, because the knit is just too much. I mean, doesn't that look like a little finger? Hi there. A little jabber. All right, now, but because I actually stitched all the way up this side, now I actually go take the time and press this. I will open this back up and see how much easier it is doing it if you only have that open just a little bit and not a lot. Let's see if you can see my press line on here. So now my new seam is going to be right here, from here to here. You can't see that, it's right there. And I'm just going to put a few pins there to remind myself, and then I need to match up the other end too, by the way. So once I sew that and flip it right side out, I can just continue sewing as far as I can. Usually I end up with just a little bit of an opening here on each side, but I finish both ends first. Then I go finish the belt. That way I know the belt's going to look nice, and when I'm all finished, I'll run some top stitching. So take a look at my blue jacket here. Couple of things. Do you see this? This is how I finished the edge of the sleeve right here. So that's a double folded all the way around. You can see that this is connected in there. Here's my little sleeve, just a little sleeve head. It's just a piece of fabric on the fold, on the bias. I might just use a piece of knit. I'll probably just use a piece of knit for mine because that's light. So that's your sleeve head. You can see the inside of this here. I tacked this down in a few places. And on here, here's my hem. You can see that's that edge I just finished. And I just did a nice top stitching here. And on this belt, you can see how I made that a little shorter as well, and did the nice top stitching along the edge. All right, so I guess my job then is to go find some copper rings so I can finish my sleeve things. Yeah, that thing. All right, do you have any questions for me before we go? Our hour is up. I cannot believe it's already been an hour. Oh my gosh. Way too much fun. Yep, it's a Ponte. Do I have that fabric? Josie, you're so funny. I suppose you have that fabric. I do have that fabric. I don't know how much of it I have, but I do have it. So if you send me a message, I can see. Looks like I've got a few yards left on the bolt. So send me a private message, Josie, or email me. So, Lois, so the sleeve head ends up pressed towards the neckline. No, the sleeve head is pressed into your sleeve head, not towards your neckline. It goes into here, into your sleeve. Could you just cut out the bulk so you wouldn't have the point? I could, Yvette, but I didn't like the point with that knit. It just was too pointy. It was like like an ET finger. That's all I could think of when I saw that. What color is the gray fabric? Cynthia, that fabric that I just showed you on the other jacket, that was actually blue. It's like a blue. Unless you're talking about a different fabric that I'm looking at. Now the top I'm wearing now, this is what it's going to be our next sew along. This is the Bella, and I just chose a little bit thicker knit, and then I used silk chiffon for the sleeves. And you'll see this weekend on the episode of It's So Easy, which will start on Saturday if you want to binge watch. Oh, what kind of fabric? Cynthia, you know, I found that blue fabric in my stash, and I have no idea. I'm guessing by the feel of it, it has a little bit of, well, it has a little bit of Lycra. It has a little bit of poly, has a little bit of rayon, and there might be just a hint of linen in there, if that helps. It is the UFO fabric. Yeah. Connie, are you going to top stitch with straight stitch or triple stitch? I'm going to use triple stitch. You could also use 2 spools of thread through the same needle. That would look good. Any others? Any other questions? I think I got everybody. Oh, wait, I know there's always a delay though, so I'll wait just a second. Oh, it's so great to see you all. And some of you I haven't seen for a little while. You've been on vacation or busy. So it's nice to see you again. Oh, Susan, I just saw your comment. It looks like forceps. Okay. Oh, that's so funny. All right, so here, while you're waiting for the last, here's the website. If you go there, that's where you can find all the events. If you would like the special of the day, the sale coupon code is, let me just type it in the comments. And the coupon code is good until Tuesday. Here you go. All caps. And I think I can bring that up so you can see it. Maybe. Here you go. So AngelaPatterns.com, everything on the website, including the Bella, which we're sewing next, is on sale, 15% off. And if you're in the Fashion Sewing Club, you always know you have your own discount in the club. So just to be clear there. Oh, did you just get the Bella? That's the special of the day, Delia. It's a special for the whole weekend. Oh, thanks, Melody. Hi, Charlene. Great to see you. All right. Any other last questions for me? Oh, thanks, Susan. And is there any piece of garment that you haven't made yourself? Yes, lingerie. And you know, like you would think buying a little bit of lace and I could make a ton of pairs of lingerie, but I choose to buy them. So yeah, lingerie and bathing suits. Although, you know, I was using some of my activewear the other day. I have some small pieces left of that, a couple of those pieces that we use for leggings. I thought, you know, this would make a great bathing suit. So it might be on my list to test that out. Actually, my other one that I purchased, the elastic stretched out, and I thought if I just cut this apart, I could probably copy it and make it. It was my favorite ever. Lisa, do you have that turning tool on your website? I do not. You know, it's funny because I had actually ordered some to come here and I should check and make sure that they didn't. So at this time, I do not. And if I didn't get them in, I will give you a link because I have some on my Amazon page too, I think. All right. Make a bathing suit. All right. Oh, there you go, Josie. That'll be fun. I do too, Sandy. I do too. Oh, yeah, Amazon page. It is. Here you go. I can never find this quickly. I don't know why, but. Every time I go to Amazon, all it shows me is everything that's in my cart. I don't know about you. Did you guys see the cartoon last week? Oh, I think it was like, there's no returning Amazon if you've been drinking wine while you were ordering. I obviously order, but I never finished the checkout. That's just a funny joke, by the way. I'm totally kidding. I'll have to find the Amazon page. I don't see it right here, right now. It's in the Fashion Sewing Club, and I think I have it listed in our group too. Yeah. Oh, here it is. I know, Kelly. I think Kelly was here earlier. Kelly, are you still here? All right, here it is. That only took like an hour. It's going in the comments, and you can click on the link. And if it's not in there, I'll drop it in there for you too. So here you go. There, I'm on Twitter. So it's Amazon.com/shops/Angela_Wolf. Oh, Terry. And swimsuits, I actually have made swimsuits in the past, just not for myself. Oh, Janice is going to work on her jean jacket. Awesome. So don't forget, everyone, make sure. Oh, thanks, Sharon. Great to see you. Don't forget, even if you posted photos of your Chloe trench last year or right when the pattern first came out, post them from now until next Wednesday. And be sure if it's either in the Angela Patterns group, you're fine. You don't have to tag me, but you can. But if you're on Instagram, make sure you tag me because then I will be sure to share those as well. Because I'll have all the screens up so I can just share. Yvette, well, actually, Yvette, that's a great idea. But you know what? If you just go to everyone, if you just go to angelawolf.com, all of these are on there. But yes, that is what I need. That would be nice, wouldn't it? You guys could find me all over the place. All right, I think I got everybody's questions. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, by the way. And I will see Fashion Sewing Club tomorrow. Otherwise, the rest of you, I will see you in the Angela Patterns group, and I can't wait to see what you're sewing. I won't be sewing much this weekend. It looks like the weather's going to be good, and I think I might have to go boating. Yes. So have a great weekend, everyone. You're welcome, and thanks for watching, by the way, especially in the summer when you could be out at the beach, right? All right. Bye.